Most of the revelations we know about. We know about them because they're printed in our current versions, because they were printed in earlier Latter-day Saint scripture, and we know about them better now in the manuscript form that's available. But there are a few texts in these books that are not familiar to us. A few revelations that were never published, and a couple of things we didn't know about until we had access to this first earliest Revelation book fairly recently. One of them is a revelation that had been rumored, but it had been rumored by critics of Joseph Smith and dissenters. A few folks had claimed that there had been a failed revelation to sell the Book of Mormon copyright in Canada for money. And since it didn't sell and no money resulted, obviously Joseph Smith was a fallen prophet. This was the case that was made. Since we had no text, how do you argue against that? Other than to say, we don't know if there's a revelation or not. But today we can say, yes, there was a revelation. It's in the book. We have it. And it's a very conditional revelation. When you read that, you realize that the Lord had said certain things might happen if other things happened. But it was in no way a strike against Joseph Smith that they didn't succeed in selling the copyright, because that's not what the revelation promised. Another example, which is probably even more interesting to many of us, we have known for years, we make a big deal about the witnesses to the Book of Mormon. It's the very first thing you encounter in our current Books of Mormon. You open it up and there's the testimony of the witnesses. In the early Book of Mormon, it was in the back. Well, they had prepared a testimony of the revelations to go in the back. We didn't know about it because the printing of the first Book of Commandments was interrupted by mob action destroying the print shop. However, now we know, because we have the testimony of the witnesses. And these witnesses wrote up a statement and signed it saying, we know this is of God, and it will be for your good and edification, and we commend it to you. And that would have been the last page in the Book of Commandments had they finished their plan. We now have that text and can restore that text in this publication and for future use, to know that they had planned a testimony as they did with the plates in the Book of Mormon. Interestingly, because this base text was a copy of the church historian from this compilation they made in Ohio, they copied in the statement. So they had circulated the statement, a number of men signed it, but he copied it into the book, all in his own hand. Then they took it down to Missouri, where other people said, we want to sign that. And they signed it in their own hand in the book. So some of it is the scribe's copy of the original document, other signatures are the signatures of the men in Missouri who wanted to add their testimony. One of them added, in parentheses, never to be erased. He wanted this to stand for posterity. But it was lost to posterity until now.